Welcome everyone to Real Perspectives with Latanya Moore. Listen, this is something new, guys, that we're doing with Real Perspectives. As those of you know, we normally do this as a podcast, so we are trying something new. So today I have my special co-host, Mario Brown, who is the founder of Empowerment for Life. Welcome, Mario.
Hello, Latanya. Thank you for having me. I'm pleasured to be here.
And I also have with me, guys, author, therapist, coach, honey, she is everything. Raquel Reed is the author of Silhouette of Her, Naked and Unashamed. Raquel, welcome.
Welcome. How are you? Let's get it started off right.
Everything. Raquel Reed is the author. So listen, Raquel, tell these people who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Raquel Reed. As Latanya said, I help people find comfort in their discomfort and purpose in their pain. As a licensed clinical addiction specialist, mental health therapist, as a life coach, and as an inspirational speaker and author. That's what I do.
Okay. Well, listen, you know that you do a whole lot more than that, y'all. She is trying to be all reserved tonight because it's a new thing, but I'm going to let you do that. But listen, you have an awesome concept that I love. And I know that the root of that concept comes from your book. Again, guys, the name of the book is Silhouette of Her, Naked and Unashamed. But you really talk with women about shedding this superwoman syndrome. So I love that. And so I know that you're doing some things called, again, the name of the show, Transforming Pain into Purpose. Tell us a little bit about the backstory of how you got into that space.
The book, as far as the book is concerned?
The book, Transforming Pain into Purpose, all of that.
Okay, well, like anyone else, I have lived it. And so the book actually came about after being a student at Salem College in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I moved here in 1987 as a result of my mother having a mental illness. Now, back in the day, in 87, mental illness was very much taboo. And my mother, when she was diagnosed, they said that she had a nervous breakdown. I know everybody's heard of, someone's had a nervous breakdown. But in reality, it was schizophrenia. So my mother is not schizophrenic. She has, and she battles, and she has overcome schizophrenia. So in that process, we moved here. I started going to Salem College in my 20s. I think I was like 26 or something like that. And I remember being there in a class. Life is happening to me. I've been through all kinds of things, all kinds of ups and downs, but I've proven to be a pretty resilient person at this time. So I'm going to Salem College. I have this professor who happens to be white, okay? And she says, we're in class, we're doing poetry, and she kept telling me, your poetry, you don't understand it. So we're looking at William Wordsworth poem. You don't know how to interpret his poetry. That's not what he meant. Then we look at Maya Angelou's work. You don't understand what she's saying. That's not what she meant. And so constantly I was berated, I felt, in class. And that turned into this book. So because that professor constantly told me that I didn't understand what the author meant, it formulated the way that my book is formulated. So this book is basically my life, all of the things that I was going through for about 5 years span of my life, all the things that I was going through at that time. And I do venture back to some past things that connect, but all of those things combined, I go in and God just began to pour poetry through me. I had no idea that there was a poet inside of this person. But because of all the things that I was going through, I began to write in prose. I would be laying in the bed and my mind would be flooded with poetry. And I would just wake up and start writing and start writing and start writing. And that's how Silhouette of Her was birthed. The poetry just poured out of me. But then this instance with this professor allowed me to say, you know what? I don't want another professor, white, black, or indifferent, telling their students what I meant by this line of prose. So what I did with Silhouette of Her was I took a poem and put it on one page. And on the next page, you have a message from Raquel with love, a life lesson. So I tell you exactly, no holds barred, what I was going through at the time that I wrote that poem. So if I'm talking about canceled rendezvous, I'm telling you about a canceled rendezvous that happened.
Cancel, wait a minute, wait. Canceled rendezvous, girl.
Ronnie, yes.
Honey, you got, listen, this is real deal, real perspectives. You know how we do it here, Mario.
Yeah.
I know you're preaching, Mario, but it's okay. You can hear about canceled rendezvous.
Hey, listen, come on here with it.
Hit it. Tell us about the canceled rendezvous. That's the one we want. We want you to read that poem, because let me tell you something. That stuck out to me. You ain't got to read the whole poem. I'm just messing with you.
We can do it.
Do what you feel, because again, guys, this is really about transforming pain into purpose. You guys know that at Real Perspectives, we take very heavy issues and we share them with you guys in a lighthearted way, so that you can feel comfortable. So we want to make sure, again, I do want to hear about the canceled rendezvous, though. What about you, Mario?
Yeah, talk to us about that, Raquel.
Okay, let's do it. Let me just go ahead and spit for you. Can I do that?
Honey, let me put you on the spotlight. Yes.
Okay.
Come on, Raquel.
All right. Here we go. Canceled rendezvous. Naked. Lying prostrate in my bed. Circumstances of the day lead my thoughts to you. My mind and my heart meet to chew on how the thought of you leaves a residue like the dew in the morning. My heart is twisted and my eyes bloodshot from the painstaking caveat. Due to the lack of understanding, to the tears I'm fighting back, evident pain is in clear view because of another canceled rendezvous. There's a fraction of me that truly cares and a fraction of me that's as blind as a stare. So far away you are, I can't take this pain. When I need you, you can't be there. Your voice I can't hear. My problems I can't share. It's not fair. So I must decide if my heart should continue to abide with you. Twisted with you I resided adamantly, something you constantly insisted. Your number I dial with a half-hearted anticipated smile, all in hopes to reach, disappointed again because I reached out to you in vain, all in hopes to gain a part of you that comforts me and makes me laugh. But a laugh I must be for continuing to mistreat me. So don't get it twisted, you missed it. And we missed out on a love that could no doubt make us better for whatever. But in the scheme of things, I weather it all again to know that together we make the songs. But baby, I write the ending. So I'm sending you this final letter, and you better understand that it could have been outstanding, but from where I stand, it wasn't God's plan. So don't get it twisted, you missed it.
Okay, Tanya, let me get in this, please. Please, let me get in this.
Get in it, Mario, get in it.
Raquel, so talk to us, though, because that seems very deep. That seems very heartfelt. That seems to be a space in time that something very, very, very deep was going on. And it seems like you have maybe experienced something from this person, maybe a life, whatever that is, but it was so deep that it spurred something. And you almost sound like you had come to the final space where you were saying enough is enough. And this is almost the eulogy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk to us about that.
I like that, Mario. No one has ever said that. And what is so exciting about this work that God put through me? I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, but I'm going through things that, you're convicted about. You're in relations, and you realize that out of those relationships, everything that you've been, at the time that I wrote this, No More Sheets was out with Juanita Bynum. Okay, so here I am, a believer, but I'm conflicted, and I'm having this relationship, and this relationship I realize is toxic. And God allows me to see that not only is it toxic because of where I am right in that space, and I am given that eulogy, but the eulogy came because I was able to transform my purpose into pain by transform my pain into purpose, because I was able to go back and look at how that toxic relationship was directly connected to a toxic relationship with my own father.
Interesting. Very
okay.
interesting.
And so here I am, in my 20s, early 30s, and I realized that I got to do something with the relationship with my father, and also in order to be free in these relationships with men, because that damaging toxic relationship was affecting every relationship that I could have with a man.
Well, you heard Mario's sermon from last Sunday.
I love
it. I love it.
Wow, here we go.
He is trying everything. He's been saying that forever.
But this is what we don't want to talk about. Tanya, you remember I said to you the other day, how hard is it to get into a church and speak? Because I'm that person that will lay it all out. Why? Because I want to see people healed and free. We got too many people. You mentioned Wonder Woman, right? We got too many people with the Wonder Woman mask on. I have this because my sister calls me Wonder Woman. But you know what? I say, you know what? There is a time and a place. And in order to transform your life, you must become naked and unashamed. You have to do it. So this, even though this is the eulogy of that relationship, it birthed, right? It birthed some new things. It allowed me to do that because I was willing to let go and let this flesh, this part of me, die.
Okay, Raquel, let me ask you this. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this. What was the defining moment that made you understand that this was connected to the dysfunctional relationship with your father? Because this is something that is a benchmark in my ministry. Tanya and I talk about this, and this was almost how we connected almost. We talked about the father. As my ministry sets to turn the heart of the father to the children's heart to the father. One of the things that I recognize is that not only women, but men are severely affected by the lack of or the relationship with their father, period. The missing, there at least must be a surrogate. But what was the defining moment for you that made you point back to and say, I'm here because that relationship is wrong. It's not right. Was there some definitive moment?
I think that it, like anything else, you begin to see a theme when you're open to it. I was already putting myself in a place to hear, and I wanted to be free. And I think that that's how different things come in our life, whether it's something very traumatic or whether it's something, business related. But what we find is that regardless of where you are in your station of life, there are these themes that just keep coming up. And if you just keep ignoring it, it just gets worse.
Absolutely.
And so this relationship with my father had many roots to it, and those roots had to get dug up. Now, does it mean that everything from the past is over with? And well, actually, from the resilience that I've actually built in my life, I think that resilience to some extent is in your DNA, but you can also build it through coping skills, through therapy, through different personal development, through spiritual development, right? Because I really can say that my pastor was really the father for me until I was able to heal in my relationship with my father. Now, I say that with caution. Let me go back and caution some people, because I just recently talked to a young man who talked about having a relationship with his pastor, where the pastor came in basically and groomed him that he was his father, and the relationship became dysfunctional, right? Because there's another intent and there's another motive. But I'm talking about a spiritual father who was truly a spiritual father without manipulation.
Absolutely.
That is what I had. And so in that relationship, I don't care who it was, whether it was my biological father, whether it was the pastor of the church that I actually came from, that I did have a dysfunctional relationship with. When I came under this man's tutelage, he began to teach out of love, just love, and just more love, and the importance of going back and fixing things. But you can't fix it until you fix you. The only person you have control of is you. So when I began to take full ownership of even the dysfunction in the relationship with my father, then I can heal there, and then I can begin to heal everything else. Heal other relationships. Because listen, I had a guy say to me one time, "Who hurt you?" That's all he said. Now, at the moment that he said that, I'm thinking, you pompous, blankety blank, blah, blah, blah.
You know you said the words.
Yes, because I'm thinking, you think you all that in a bag of chips and you fine, but you ain't that fine. That's really what I was thinking. But it took, Mario, back to your question about really, making those connections. Sometimes it takes a while. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everything don't come overnight. And that's what I have to help people understand. Sometimes I just got to bring people in my office and say, can you give some compassion to yourself? Can you love and hug on yourself and stop being so hard on you because you didn't get it overnight? God will show you things, but when you're ready, bam, right, it'll be open to you. And can't nobody do that for you. God has to do that. Now, does God we're not going to be so spiritually minded that we know earthly good. God used people. It ain't always a suddenly, it ain't always a rhema, it ain't always sometimes he's just gonna send some. I had a guy last week tell me that another drug addict told him, "You're gonna die an addict." And it sent him to me. And they were sitting there snorting together. Come on now. So sometimes the most unlikely person is who God will send to help you connect them dots for yourself.
Gotcha.
Girl, you done made the whole room speechless up in here. but you make a very, very fundamental point, because you made several points. But to the original point about the importance of having a father figure, having that father to mold and mentor. Now, this is not a philosophical conversation about daddies and all of that, but what it is about, it's about validation. It's about when you come to a place where that relationship has been so damaged that you don't measure. I don't care what type, and I know y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care what type of relationship that you have with your father, you will measure others based on that relationship, period. Yeah. You say to yourself, I ain't gonna be with nobody that's like that, or whether you are subconsciously seeking that because it's something that you didn't have. Mario, talk with us a little bit, because I know you talk a lot about really this whole concept of fathers and fatherhood. Talk with us about that, and then I want to get some of the people in on this. I want to share some of the comments that we've had so far.
Okay, thank you. I think one of the things that I've learned, I did a video the other day about my grandfather. It was called Stop Patching Up Your Life. And in that video, I was talking about one of the cars I had, one of the first cars I had. We always had an uncle who would fix our cars. Mm-hmm. And finally one day, it was my grandfather's brother. My grandfather said to me, how much money are you going to keep putting into that car? Why do you keep patching that car up when you've already bought a new car? You could have saved that money. I said, well, the whole thing for me was, what am I going to do in the meantime? He said, get on the bus and save your money. So I refer back to him as a man of wisdom. What happened was my grandfather shaped my mind around the concept of money, the concept rather of cleanliness, the concept of how to treat females, how to have a good work ethic. So what I found out is that we don't have the time to sit around and whine over the biological father, but what about the figure? Because what I found about God is God sends figures. See, we got to understand the method of God. Because what he'll do is he'll send a figure who will take the place to make sure you miss absolutely nothing. And certainly you want the biological thing, that would be great. But what do you do if the father's dead? He died in war. He died before you ever knew him anyway. That surrogate comes, that person who has been given by God the grace to love you, the grace to teach you, the grace to train you. So what I do is tell people, what if God comes another way? So I think that it's quite important to look around and see. It may be Mr. John at the barbershop who tells you, son, go get an education. Son, get off the corner. Let me show you how to change that tire. I think it's very important. Now, as it relates to women, let me say this very quickly. I think that a woman can have her father in her life, in the house, and it will still not guarantee that she will be functional where men are concerned, because it depends upon how he interacts with her. All of that matters, because even her observation of how he treats her mother will still mean something to her. So when most people are walking around going through changes about my daddy wasn't with my mama, they weren't in the house together or whatever, sometimes that's the blessing, because you did not see the dysfunctional interaction there. So it really is a blessing. You didn't see it, and you got an opportunity to at least see better visions of that. So I believe that, it's a lot of meat on that bone.
Look, I love it. I love it. So listen, I want to go back just a minute, Raquel, just to kind of let you know. So Beverly Jones-Durr has already got your book. She said, I just ordered this book. Can't wait to sit down and read it.
Beverly, thank you. Yes, it's good.
Ira Warren says, wow, awesome. And Beverly is she says, fingers popping, high five. Abrielle Dixon says, wow. Belinda Hobson Dupree says, love it. Beverly Jones-Durr says, eulogy. That's true. I felt that. Abrielle says she's been there. So many can relate, I'm sure. So it's just a lot of definitely, and Belinda says there are too many damaged people. Beverly says, Mario, you're reading my mind with these questions. She also says that the father relationship is critical. And she also says, yes, Mario, this is true. The interaction is important. And so again, we have the people that are participating in tonight's interactive discussion. I think it really shows, and these are all people that they're different levels of ages and all of that. So this is not something that is just specific to those of us, that may be a little older. It really is something that I think that permeates really across generations. And part of it, I believe, is the fact that we never learn the fundamentals of letting go. Because Raquel, you say something that is very key. You noticed a pattern that you did not like, that you thought was destructive, you thought was negative, you thought, for whatever reason, whatever you call it, you said, this has got to change if I want to change in my life. Everybody doesn't understand how to have that level of self-awareness. Sometimes they don't know, like Mario was saying, this is how life works. So what are the things that you would tell a person who sees this, Raquel, and they say, man, for a long time, I feel that I see what Raquel is talking about. What are those things that you would tell them that could be their first step to change?
Yeah, that's good.
Tanya, honestly, you know, I really, when I sit and think about my life and all of the things that I've overcome, and I'm going to be honest, for those who want to purchase my book some more, it ain't all in this book. I'm going to have to write another one. Okay. I've been through childhood molestation. To be freed from that by my mother's mental illness. That's the only reason that ended. Because I didn't want to tell anybody that what was happening to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Simply because I thought that the only stable person in my life would end up in jail, in prison, if I told what was happening to me. Of course, I had been threatened, you know, that she would be harmed, but I really feared for him, honestly, and I didn't tell. And so going from that to becoming my mother's caregiver at the age of 11 because no one else was there, I resented my father for not being there to take care of her and the fact that I had to do it. I moved from that to living here in North Carolina, where I was with family that my mother had kept me from. I didn't know them. And now we were sent or shipped to live with them. And they didn't like me, didn't understand that. I struggled in school. When I got to college, not only did that professor berate me, but I had other professors. They didn't berate me, but they said, why aren't you more advanced? Like, you know, really? And so with all of that said, I truly realize that the wisdom that God has given me is truly a gift. And it is only something that I can share with other people. I've never been afraid to latch on to someone whose tree had good fruit on that I could eat off of. So I had this period in my life where, yeah, daddy wasn't there. So I looked for that pure, wholesome man to look up to, because I just didn't want to believe that all men were dogs,
right?
That all men were hoes, that black men couldn't be trusted. I didn't want to believe that. And I know that that's something deep down inside of me that fought for that fought for the place that I sit in today, where other people look at me and think, she's so successful, she's so this, she's so that. And when I sit in the corner by myself and I think, I ain't arrived. I haven't arrived. So gratitude can take you from the pit of hell and bring you into glory. I think that even when Mario was talking, he talked about being able to see that blessing in not having. Many of the people that I work with are in the place that they're in because of a lack mentality. They can't see anything else. They don't have faith. They're not putting themselves in a position to grow spiritually, professionally, personally. They're not putting themselves in that place because something and someone has whispered in their ear that all is lost. You ain't gonna never be nothing. You're gonna be like your mama. You're gonna be like Aunt so-and-so. You ain't gonna never have nothing because your mammy didn't have nothing. Your mama didn't have that kind of stuff. And what happens is we co-sign on that. We co-sign on it. We sign on a dotted line. You're right, I ain't gonna never be nothing. When the word says that I am more than a conqueror. So in those times where there wasn't a person that I could latch on to, can I give a little story real quick? I remember one night being in my bedroom. The depths of loneliness had grasped me. And I began to call person after person after person. I made 9 phone calls and no one answered the phone. Before I got ready to dial the 10th number, I heard God speak to me and say, I'm here. I am here. Talk to me. And so sometimes that's the place that we gotta go. That's the place. He wants to help you. He says you're more than a conqueror, but if you never spend time with him, he can't teach you that. And he can't teach you how to live out of a place where it looks like I don't have enough. Because he'll tell you things like you have more than enough and challenge you to open your eyes to see it.
That's good. That's good. Can I interrupt right here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said something that's so powerful. You said that you didn't want to believe the narrative that all Black men couldn't be trusted.
Yeah.
That they were no good, that they were hoes, the whole nine. You didn't want to believe that. You don't want to believe that. And I believe with every fiber of my being that so many women have to believe the same way because they seem to be addicted to that same type of man. Now, what do I mean by that? You gotta believe down in the depths of your soul that this narrative isn't true, because you find yourself repeatedly being in relationships, believing there's some good in this person. Regardless of what you've seen. Regardless of what you've seen. Mm-hmm. You still see, we want to point that to, oh, they got low self-esteem. Everybody ain't got that, because you know why? They still get weed put in their hair. They still go get their nails done. They're still bathing. That doesn't mean that that's not always the scapegoat. Mm-hmm. Because they do feel good about themselves to fix themselves up. But there's a deep-seated desire to believe against what they have seen, that there is good in this man. Some kind of way, all men are not dogs. Mm-hmm. So you talked about doing therapy for addicts, but we have people who are addicted to relationships.
That's an addict?
That's an addict for real.
That's an addict, yeah.
Because at some point, they cannot leave that alone, even though it's no good for them. You said you were fearful that the only person who was stable had to be your oppressor. And you didn't want to lose the stability of that.
No. The only person who was stable in my life was my mother at the time.
Okay, so you were afraid to lose her.
I was afraid that if I told her that he was molesting me, that she would kill him and end up in prison. And let me say this, Mario. I did a conference, this child sexual abuse conference in April. And I talked to a room of 200 professionals, mental health professionals, about what happens when you are sitting in front of you. What I mean by that is, a few months ago, a young lady came to me for therapy and had the story that I just told you I was afraid of. Mm-hmm. She was molested, and her mother, when she told her mother who molested her mother to this day is still incarcerated for killing him. Mm-hmm. See, when you are not, whatever position you have in life, when you go into it from a place where you aren't healed, hurt people. I needed to be in a place of healing from that. Not because, yes, of course, my mom didn't go to jail, but still from a place of being able to forgive the perpetrator. Had I not healed from that, I could have damaged that young lady sitting in my office.
Absolutely. Let me say this real quick, Tanya, too, because she makes a very powerful point. I spoke with someone this morning, and I was talking about how the church packages itself as this place where you go to get all this healing and all this stuff, all right? It's packaged that way, that you come here to get love. If you've been rejected, come here. That's not here. We're not traditional. If you've been, dogged out, come to the house of God. And then when they get there, this is where they receive the very treatment. Now, I'm a pastor saying it was straight up. They get the very treatment you promised them in your package that they would be healed from. Well, I'm saying it right now to everybody that's listening. It's a lie. What we need to do is to repackage the church to say this: When you come here, expect to see a reflection of yourself, period. If you come in and expect to see a reflection of yourself, then you'll understand that the possibility of us missing it is great, but we're going to keep trying until we get it right. Because at the end of the day, that's why leaders are falling. Because they're sitting in front of a reflection of themselves and they have packaged themselves to be infallible.
Yes.
Yes. It wears them out and it sparks mental illness in them because it's real.
Listen, Mario, you know, you and I have talked extensively about all of these things, and we've talked about fatherhood hurt. We've talked about the root, but I'm gonna tell you something. It ain't nothing like that church hurt. It ain't nothing like you are the very person that the church says come. You are in a delicate place, and you've learned throughout the years exactly what you said. When you go to the church, this is what you are supposed to get. You go to the church for this particular thing, and what do? Not only do you get a reflection of yourself, you get a reflection of a whole lot of other folks that you didn't want to get a reflection of. And I think what happens is we, especially Black folks, so get mad at me, it's my show. But what we do is we feel like just by going to the church, it is going to resolve every issue. Now, pastors have been placed in a position to be mental health professionals. And no.
Right.
They've been placed in positions to be doctors. No. They've been placed in positions to be lawyers. No. What I'm saying is, and listen, don't get it twisted, because I believe that God can change things. I do believe in faith healing. I do believe in a lot of those things. However, that is something that is divine from God. That is not your pastor.
That's right.
Your pastor don't know everything. I have been in a ministry, again, my opinion, if you used to go there, you know, if you got a problem, I really don't care. I have been in a ministry where that was exactly what was taught. And it was so subliminal that none of us know it. This is just me. Maybe it was a couple of people that were smarter than me, but we did not know that. We did not even understand the smoke and mirrors that was going on right in front of us. You know why? Because our hearts were in the right place. Our hearts were right. And I believe that God will honor that. I do believe that God will honor your heart. When we go to these places and they ain't right, don't turn away from God, because whoever leading whatever that place is, because the thing is, they told you to come to the house of God, but they ain't realized that his name is not on the deed. He is not there. It is some other fakers and some other folks. That is not God. That is not what it's about. So what I'm saying is, I think that this is a very crucial point. And the fact that we're all here together saying this very thing, I don't think it was just by happenstance.
Right.
Because we all have different perspectives. However, they're very real. That's why the show is called Real Perspectives. But let's turn the corner, y'all, because we've talked about a lot of things. But I really want us to give some tools and tips. And Raquel, I want to start with you. Tools and tips about transforming that pain into purpose, because you've been able to do that. Now, you've definitely given us great examples. Listen, go to RaquelReed.com. At the end of this, Raquel is going to do us a favor and go to the comment section and put all the links where you guys can do this. Go to RaquelReed.com and order her book. But Raquel, talk with us and share some tools and tips about transforming pain into purpose.
So to transform pain into purpose, first of all, we got to get real about the situation that we're in. And sometimes getting real requires us to reach out for help. That whole accountability piece, you know, you live with yourself all day long, so you will lie to yourself all day long. And so there are different tools to help you do that. I tell people all the time, you can talk to your girlfriends, but you process with a therapist. And sometimes, just like the young lady that purchased the book, what I've heard from people who have read my book are two stark contrasts. One is Here is someone who is still really not healed from a lot of things. And when they read Silhouette of Her Naked and Unashamed, they're going to get triggered to begin to deal with some stuff that they thought that they had just covered over. Then you have the other person, probably, you know, just more mature, has lived life, has dealt with some things, has a lot of things resolved. They just enjoy reminiscing and in the fact that they have overcome a lot of these things. So in those two different people, we have someone who it's going to take a month or two to finish my book, and somebody else who can read my book in an hour. Okay? So getting the support that you need is very crucial. And that's one of the reasons why I went back and got my certification for life coaching, because sometimes people will go to a life coach and they need to be with a therapist. Sometimes people will be working with a therapist and they really need a life coach. And guess what happens? Because hurt people, and some people are worried about paying their bills, they'll keep you and let you pay them that money knowing that you don't need to be with them. So when you come to me, I can help you, first of all, if you don't even know which one you need. But on top of that, you have the gifting, right? The spiritual gifting. See, some things are skill and some things are gift. There's spiritual gifting that I have. So I'm able to help you in that area. Mario is someone that might be able to help you in that area. You know, your pastor, maybe, if you've had a pastor like I've had a pastor that was a true spiritual father, right? Then sometimes you may find that what you really need, and you know what, let me say this, some people don't need to be preached to, they need to go somewhere and be taught.
Absolutely.
So wait a minute now. You can't let the preachers lose the hoop now. They got to get the hoop. Mm-hmm. They have got to get in there. They got to get on a good foot. Now you are advocating that people do something else, Raquel. We want people to support the show. We don't people don't let that preacher get on the good foot now. Come on.
But listen, the bottom line is all about support, however you get it and what works for you. Because what works for me may not work for you. So there's not a one size fit all for everyone. So some people may benefit from that style. That's a style. But at the end of the day, if you're being preached to and you're not learning anything, then we're still gonna have an issue.
And let me
information without application is just nothing. It's just a bunch of words. Go ahead, Mario.
And you're right. Y'all are so right, because one of the things that I think is critical is to understand that pain is the indication that something's wrong.
Yes.
We have to understand that the pain is the indication. That's the thing that starts the process of transformation. Now we go to church and all we got is a good hoop, and we shout, we dance, and I'm a Pentecostal preacher. I came out of a Church of God in Christ, but one of the things that I refuse to do is to shout my way into feeling good. And then once the organ is turned off, the drumsticks are put up, they turn the lights off, I got to go home and deal with that thing again. Because what I needed to do was to sit down and have someone to teach me principles to my deliverance. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to have something very tangible. Because see, you grow up in church, you got little kids that can preach. You got there's a little kid in my church now. Tanya, you know Margaret, she won your package. Margaret's little boy be walking around wiping his head like I do when I'm preaching. Because he's been in church and he sees that stuff. Little kids can do that. So you're right, Raquel, at some point, we have to stop and realize, and I've been talking about this in my church for a while too. We have minimized the amount of mental illness that resides in the house of God.
And we won't let a trained, licensed clinical therapist come in and assist the people of God. And if we entertain it, then we want to entertain it and not pay the therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can't.
Let me bring up one comment, guys, from Abril Dixon. She says the emotional surface preaching doesn't heal; it masks it over temporarily. I want y'all to speak to that, because I love that.
Well, it does. She's absolutely correct, because what it does is let me put it to you this way. What's her name? Bria?
Abril Dixon.
Abril Dixon, you are on top of that. Let me tell you why. Because I've been in church all my life, and I have watched people shout, fall out, speak in tongues, roll in the floor, and when they get up, you can literally see that there is no change. Now watch this. It causes you to feel good at the moment. It's almost like a person addicted to crack. They get that high, that immediate high, and they come down, and they got to go back. And what churches have done is to train you to find that crack house every week, to come in and get that fix, but never get delivered. Why? Because there's money in addiction. There's money to be made in addiction. If I only give you a little bit of the hit, in other words, we're addicted to the anointing, but nobody wants to move over to the glory. I ain't trying to preach. But if we get in the glory, we'll get out of the addiction to the anointing, because the anointing literally lubricates you to be able to go into a place where you no longer need the thing that you're dependent upon. So what we are doing now is we're masking. Everybody goes in pretending. You know, when people get dressed on Sunday mornings, they put on the right mask to go in today. I go into my closet and not look for just my shirt, my pants. I put on my mask to go in because I'm expected to behave a certain way. I got to go in, and even when I say I'm transparent, I'm doing nothing more than lying, because I'm giving you an edited version of the story and a Photoshop image. So you're absolutely right. But when you sit down and say, let's deal with what's really going on with you, naked, as you say, Raquel, unashamed, so that you can conquer the very oppression that keeps bullying you.
And what they need to see is other people who are willing to do that. So let me add this. So for those of you who want to be really successful in life, so here, because Tanya asked me for tips, the transparency will help you do that. I mean, because it just will.
Yeah.
And so it just will help take you to the next level, because you're not spending all of your energy with the mask, with the cape on. And God can actually do something now instead of you trying to do it all on your own.
Yeah.
Naked and unashamed is really about taking everything off. And we can go back to the word, and I didn't know we was gonna go there like this tonight, but I mean, we can go back to the word and look at all of that from the beginning, from the very beginning, about being naked. Because when they were exposed, before they were exposed, they didn't know they was naked. They had no clue. But it's the sin, and people don't want to talk about that. And so we want to be successful to some extent at all costs in this day and age. And it just brings me to the scripture that says, what profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? I don't really want to do that. But when you can begin to, in a sense, expose yourself, there's nothing to hide behind anymore, and you're free.
But
wait. One thing. Let me share a little bit, guys, from the Facebook comments, and then Mario, I want you to chime on in. Okay. Well, first of all, we had Miss Dixon's name wrong. We're gonna have to call her Miss Dixon because she put it phonetically, and I still really can't get it. I do apologize. Y'all know I'm country. Okay, but what she shares is, she says, my deliverance came from pain because nobody helped me. They just kept making me feel good, which goes along, Raquel and Mario, with what you guys are saying. Barjan Lee, he says, so glad you all are, huh?
That's a she.
Oh, is it she?
Yes, Barjan,
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm just gonna say names, y'all. Help me. Y'all need to be praying over here, Mario. I'm glad you all are having this conversation. Absolutely. #transparency. Charmaine Stevens says, as a Christian recently going through a miscarriage, had I just been hooped and hollered at, I would have lost my mind. However, because my pastor has equipped me with the tools and resources I needed, hold on, I have to, it's Charmaine, I cannot see your full. Oh, here we go. Okay, she says the tools and resources I needed to understand what was happening and was able to continue on with life and understanding that God is still God and that restoration is guaranteed. Hollering never helped anyone. It's that good manner that will keep you and get you through. And Ms. Dixon says, exposure freed me. Transparency takes the enemy's power away. And Barjan says, I get it all the time. I'm sorry. I won't do it no more. I promise. I'm going to remember that name. Go ahead, Mario.
Yeah, let me speak to that because I think that's very powerful. I think that's very, very powerful. And I want to speak to that. What I'm really happy about tonight is that the Spirit of God is really directing this conversation. I really believe that. But I want to say this. We cannot be opposed to therapy in the house of God, whether you're in the house of God or out of the house of God. You can't be opposed to therapy. Why? Because let's deal with the house of God. One of the things I dealt with a few months ago is that there are people who want to be successful who can't stand to be questioned. They want to be successful. We see that in coaching. We see that in everything. People really want success, but they really can't handle anyone questioning them about what they're doing to have them to qualify their direction because they feel intimidated for some reason. But guess what? All these Bible thumpers out here are about to really get mad with me. Why? Because God counseled Adam. The first thing he said when they sinned was, Adam, where are you? He was not asking for his GPS location.
Because he knew where he was.
Absolutely.
He's God.
Absolutely. He knew that they met in the garden every evening to talk.
Mm-hmm.
That something had happened in the atmosphere because Adam's heart had changed. So he asked the question, where are you? When Adam responded, he asked him another question, who told you that? Who told you that? See, and that's the whole point. If we can deal with those two questions, where are you and who told you that? That's the beginning of transformation because everything that's happened to us, whether it was at the playground, we could have had a very functional home, but go down to that playground. Go down to that playground and let somebody tell you black, you bald head, you ain't light, you ain't white head, you fat, you can't dribble the ball. That stuff, you will go through your life trying to figure out how to dribble the ball at 55 years old.
Well, can I say this? So that's a good point right there. Why? Because when I'm working with people every single day, these are grown people with them playground issues.
Come on here now.
And so you want to have this image of
y'all gonna make me do an altar call.
Listen.
Send your offering to RaquelReed.com.
Listen.
But no, Raquel, I'm messing around. Go ahead.
You know what? And people think that they refer me to like Iyanla Vanzant because when you come to me, I don't do the coddling thing. The truth will set you free. Mm-hmm. So in therapy with me, I'm a truth teller first and foremost. I'm a believer, right? So if you allow me to, I can take you to where, listen, right now, I have a young lady who is an atheist. But because of the love of God in me, this young lady has been clean for 3 years. Not because of me. Don't misunderstand what I was getting ready to say. Hold on, let me finish it. She's not clean because of me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying because of the love of God in me, she's still connected to me. She asked me to come and speak when she gets her 3rd chip for being clean for 3 years. She does not believe in God. Let me fix it. She's agnostic, goes to an agnostic AA meeting and has asked this one to come and speak. It is the love of God that helps us to heal people. And what I was going to say earlier was, don't separate. If you want to be successful, stop separating who you are spiritually from who you are, personally from who you are in your business. That's where you got the mask on. So we got one mask for church, one mask for your job. Let me talk to my young people, college students that might back up and watch this replay. The mask that you wear on the yard. Then you come to church, you the youth minister, you got to take that off. And you may need support, because guess what? Sometimes your family too close to you. And so you need someone else that's neutral. I'm not benefit. The only benefit I gain from my clients is seeing them successful, seeing their lives changed and managed. If there's a mental health illness, or if you've been on the yard, but let's go back to this. You've been on the yard, you're 50 years old, and you're still dealing with stuff that somebody said you ain't gonna be this, that, and the other. Remember I talked about that? If you're still carrying that with you, some people, I gotta help them understand that they're still carrying that with them. I have a young man, not young, but I'm being nice, in my group yesterday, still in having hatred towards someone who is dead and gone. And this person has been in active addiction for years. I also want to hit this because Mario mentioned this. Addiction is addiction. I don't care whether it's sex addiction, pornography, relationship addiction. You can't be by yourself. You got to have a man. You got to have a woman, or things just ain't right. Food addiction. I don't care what it is. Addiction is addiction. And until you decide, until you choose that you don't want that anymore, you will continue to struggle with it. But you got to make that thing up in your mind. And then you got to connect to the source. And he'll direct you in who he's going to use to help you get free. And I have many people that come to me and say, well, my family said, you ain't gonna never get free because why can't you just get rid of this addiction like your Uncle JoJo? He just asked the Lord to take the taste out of his mouth, and he did. So some of y'all are waiting on the Lord to take the taste out of your mouth, and the Lord is waiting on you.
And quit trying to be like Uncle JoJo. That's the other thing.
Yeah. But these are sensitive issues, and you want someone who can help you in that arena. The man up and this is the stuff that has people still imprisoned. Right. When we come at our family members like that, and some of the people that have you in bondage are in bondage themselves.
Absolutely.
And so you have to understand that, and that's one of the things that you learn. Therapy isn't just about laying on the couch. Sometimes there's a moment that some of you have codependency issues, like I mentioned, relationship issues. So you constantly have this need to give out, but you resent it. That's a codependency issue, right? What needs to happen for you may be that there is a time where you need to sit down to be poured into. This is a major issue with the pulpit ministry.
Absolutely.
They so busy helping everybody else, they need to go sit down somewhere. I really would like to create something where you allow me to come in and take over for you, knowing that you got a professional that you can trust to teach your flock while you're gone, and you can go and sit on the beaches of Hawaii and rest. But there's so many trust issues there that pastors and pastors' wives don't trust nobody to stand in the gap while they're gone. That's some other stuff too.
Listen, they are guarding the offering plate oftentimes.
Tanya.
There's a barrier there that says, I'm not going to allow you to collect tithes and offering. And only the Levites can stand in the inner court. So you got the outer court, you got the inner court, And if you are not a Levite, you may not stand in the inner court, which is the pulpit.
And let me speak on that. Let me talk about that. That is absolutely correct. And I'm gonna tell you something. The expectation that people have of leadership has a lot to do with the way the leader has presented themselves, because leaders are supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be infallible. They
take off the cape. Take off the cape, because no, you're not.
Right. They have no space to be vulnerable at all. And we understand that the people have to look up to the leader. We get that piece. But one of the things is that we, even as leaders, don't give each other that space. See, the thing that I found with leaders is preachers don't want to talk to you unless you're doing the same thing they're doing. They don't even want you in the circle unless you're doing the same thing that they're doing. Now, here's the problem with that, is that pride and arrogance develops not because they're that confident, but because their parishioners have put the cape around them. Their parishioners have lifted them up and elevated them to that status until they believe they're on press. So when they fall, watch this, those people tolerate that instead of saying, go get some help. We're just going to tell you it was the devil. The devil made you do it. We here for you. We're going to support you. But here's the thing, is at some point in time, there must be a safe space created where that pastor or leader, whether it's in the church, whether it's your boss at work, I don't care who it is, at some point you got to pull away and let your vulnerability be seen by someone who has nothing to gain from it. Because see, in many leaders' defense, many people, many pastors have tried that and have literally been blackmailed. They have been blackmailed with their vulnerability. They've been blackmailed with their struggle because they trusted the wrong person. That's why I believe we must go to outside therapy. It cannot be that in-house stuff.
And that's why a therapist like myself who does therapy online from the privacy of your home could be beneficial as well. But I still have that thing where the pastors won't really allow you to they won't even entertain it.
Well, but Raquel, let me say this. The reason why, again, though, is because they have been insulated by parishioners who depend upon them, who refuse to see that they even have a need to be that way. I promise you. I've watched them, their members insulate them, that even when they create public foolishness, they continue to be insulated and nobody stops to say. Now, this is not everywhere, because I've seen a lot of organizations that have literally told pastors. In fact, there's a pastor right now in California, the son took on the ministry, is public knowledge now, and he stepped down because of what's characterized as a misjudgment. But they had sense enough, his father had sense enough to say to him, you must step down. You need counseling. You cannot preach like this.
But it's unfortunate that someone else has to say, you must step down.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but I think in the way the church is right now, it's most good. Why? Because most folk are allowed to remain where they are without any type of discipline. So I really believe that this was a great thing, that he had that accountability in place.
Yes.
Respected and honored to say, you need help. And he humbly received that because his father has set up a tier of accountability before him to say, this is how we handle, because your humanity now has been seen. Okay, we're good with that. Now we're going to turn to the divinity of God to restore you. We're going to get to the core of this, and we're going to get you all the help you need. God has not given up on you, but right now, we don't want you to hurt the people. And I think that's critical.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. That's in the end what ends up happening. I don't care what type of resolution comes with that leader. The people are the ones that are scarred. They are hurt. they get to a point where, unfortunately, they say, I'm no longer going to trust God because you, as a quote representative of God, you are showing me the reflection, because that's what you talk to people. You talk to people that you are a reflection of God.
But you know what, Tanya? But you know what, Tanya? What people, and you've met, this is the second time you brought that up, and actually that was bookmarked in my head, what you said, this topic right here. One of the things that we have to realize is that if this was a mirror, okay, everybody, this is my mirror. This is the Bible, the Word of God, right? This is my mirror. This is my mirror. So when we choose that the pastor and his wife is the mirror, that's where we go wrong. And at the end of the day, meaning the end of your life, because we only get one, at the end of that, you have to be held accountable. So you're not going to be able to say, well, he was the reflection. No, you're the reflection. And he said, let there be light. And there was light. See, when God created the earth, when he saw light, he saw his own reflection. That's what it was. That's what the light was. And that's why the word says, you are a city set upon a hill. If you're a believer and you're walking in righteousness, you are a city set upon a hill that cannot be hid.
There's a question from Facebook that says, I was a co-pastor / evangelist who failed myself, and I set my own self down for 2 years to sit, learn, and grow. But other offenders involved, not so. Why is it easier for women to get help than men, Mario?
Well, here's the thing. This is a man, right? This is
no,
a man.
It's a woman.
It's a woman. Okay, here we go. That was something I believe that she was able to sit herself down because of her personal relationship with God. Yes. Her personal relationship with God was so that it was never dependent upon a person telling her what's right and what's wrong. She had the word of God. She understood through proper integrity, self-integrity, that I'm in no condition to stand before these people. That means that her relationship with God is real. She doesn't have a form of godliness and denies the power thereof. Now let's deal with this man thing. The reason it's hard for men, what was the question again? Why with men?
Why is it easier for women to get help than men?
Because it requires, that's a hard thing for men to do. I just had this conversation with a pastor about marriage counseling. I said to them, men are not going to come to nobody's counseling session to expose their weaknesses. They're not going to sit in front of another man and confess their weaknesses. That woman is emotional at her very base. So therefore, she wants solution. The man believes because of his natural buildup, he's a fixer. He should have the wherewithal to get himself together. It takes a man who has been humbled by God to understand that I need help. That before I'm a man of God, before I'm a football coach, before I'm a CEO, I am a man. I am a man first. And I do have a need. But it is because when a man shows his vulnerability, women disrespect him. Hear me.
It ain't just women. It ain't just women that disrespect.
I'm not saying it's not just women. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying he's thought to be weak. You think about that.
Yeah, and you know what, Mario? It's men, it's fathers that are telling their sons
absolutely
that they are weak, because that's what most of my clientele are men.
Absolutely. I totally believe that. I'm telling you now, I see men right now that literally cannot stand to be dealt with by another man. Why? It was two things now. One, because their fathers never confronted them about their behavior. They don't know what that's like. They don't know the discipline of the father. They can only relate to women. They can only hear the discipline of their mothers. So when a man comes to even question them, they shrink back. Or he's been taught by the men in his family, man yourself up. You got to man up. So this is why he's been so designed now to believe that if I say I'm vulnerable, this is why I'm going to go here. This is one of the reasons that some men will not even express themselves during orgasm. They will just say,
yes, breath of life. Breath of life.
Come on here. See, I'm telling you, because they do not want to admit, I am receiving pleasure. At this moment, you've done something for me and to me. So there's this suppression.
Control. It's about control.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's deep because most men, when you get them in a room, if it gets too, I used to do something with this Father's League. And when you start talking too deep, they immediately shut down because they've been taught that's feminine. That's feminine for you to cry. You better not cry. You better not cry. You think about that dude that played football for Miami Dolphins that was being bullied in the locker room. Instead of the support that he was supposed to get, everybody raked him across the coal, and he has not been able to recover yet. This is why it's hard for men to go and say, I need something. We don't even want to go to the doctor. We don't even want to admit we got a cavity because we've been taught it is expected of you to man your. I've heard women call men all kind of bees, men call each other bees if you show any sign of weakness. So to answer that question, the foundation that's been laid and the expectation of men is for you to fix yourself. Fix me and fix yourself.
Okay. So y'all lighten up the Facebook group here. So let's see. Someone says no. I think men, and this is in all caps. So you know what that means. I think men who own their weaknesses are spiritually strong. So I think it's because they are carnal-minded and proud if they can't humble themselves enough to own it.
That has nothing to do with carnality. It has nothing to do with humility. It has everything to do with our foundation and our culture. Our culture, see, it may be cute and sexy and romanticized to say, oh, he's able to admit his weakness, and oh, he's able to admit he's vulnerable. That's to you. Because after a while, if he does it too much, you're going to tell him, man up and stop all that crying and whining, because there is a cultural expectation for us to pull it together. Now listen to me. It may not be every man, but it's a lot of men that are simply saying, I don't feel comfortable even with my woman, telling her all my vulnerability. It's a cultural thing that we must consider first before we begin saying he's carnal. That's some church stuff anyway. All that using those church words, he won't humble himself. There's carnality. Let me help you. That stuff is religion. That ain't nothing but religion. You got to go and deal with the culture of the black man. White men were allowed to do that stuff because they got that cultural admittance to do that. We were not allowed to do that. You better put it together. You the man of the house. Get up and get it done.
So Barjan says, people don't need to be saved. People need to be set free, in all caps. Church seems to cage people in and give you a false sense of hope. You leave church, the building still feeling empty. I don't think that is God's plan for his people.
Well, I mean, again, we listen, I think it's a distraction. God is love at the end of the day. And you know what? The Big Bang Theory didn't get us here. You can look out there. I'm looking out my window right now. There's a beautiful world that none of us can say that we created. And so the distractions will come to get us to move away from what is divine. You are divine. But you have to walk in it. You have to understand it so you can walk in it. And that's why I said, again, if you go back to, what tips do I have, Raquel, for transforming your life? It is when I'm looking at all these different people walking in my office, I'm seeing people who have no idea who they are. No idea. And they're lost. because many of them, their confidence is in themselves. Raquel's success, you just asked me about mine. My success is in knowing the Creator, and that even when I've failed, there are times where God's showing me that's my victory. That's my victory. And so I can look into the Word of God, which is my reflection, and see who I truly am, not what somebody said about me, not what someone else tried to design me to be, not when the church hurt me, because the church is people. And you're right, Barjan, the church is a building. You should be the church. We are that light, that city set upon a hill that can't be hid. And so as long as our light is shining, then we are helping, because see, the word says that we are all ministers of reconciliation. That means that we're all responsible. If you are a believer, I'm just talking to people who are believers right now, okay? If you are a believer, you are a minister of reconciliation, which means that your life, you are responsible for the life that you live to shine a light to show other people Jesus. So when other people come to you and say, Raquel, you are so great, you say, give it all to him. Give it all, because that confidence in me is going to make me fail every time. But when I know I'm flawed and jacked up and that I need a higher power, I need God in my life, then I'm good. And you know what? So when you come and tell me, Raquel, you ain't X, Y, and Z, I could be like, okay, whatever. Because I know who I am in Christ. Anything outside of Christ in my book doesn't even matter. It's in Christ. And that's why I don't have to argue with anybody about it. You know what? Let me share this, Tanya. I was supposed to be on another radio show. I told Tanya, I said, I think I got canceled because I sent them a copy of this. And the word is all through this book. So if you want some inspiration, it's not because Raquel is so great. It's because Raquel tapped into the source. And everything I touch cannot help but have his word in it. So even when you go to the back of my book, this was the inspiration of the Holy Ghost. Some of y'all won't step out and do things to be successful because you're worried about the plan. I got to have it all intact. Sometimes you got to step out on faith and you don't know what's going to happen. There is the comfort in your discomfort. Some things that God is asking you to do in your business, in your personal life, are going to be uncomfortable because you don't know the plan. You don't know the full mapped out plan, because if you did, you jack it up. In the back of my book is a certificate of new life, because I believe in it. So any book you read, you got to understand, any program that you watch. What are you listening to? What are you hearing? You got to know who you tapping into and what you're setting yourself up to read. This is inspiration from the word of God through my life, through the pain. But you don't always have to learn through pain.
Mario, chime in real quick.
Well, I want to say that, but to the person that is trying to rely only upon the church for what they need. I think because what we're doing is we're making the church, the building, the center. When we need to really, really, really get them to understand that that the kingdom is really the issue.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who are not going to ever go in church. They're not going to go into a church until they're in a casket, period. But the kingdom can come to them, because the kingdom is not in words, it's in the demonstration of power. And so once we ourselves walk out free, walk out whole, we become the demonstration of whatever happened to us, because we now can tell the story. So my thing is, we can argue about the validity of the church, the power of the church, and what goes on in church all day long. But those same people that are complaining about it are some that are still sitting there being a part of the problem, because you still do not seek the help you need, because you're looking for God to do it all, but you have no involvement whatsoever. I believe the kingdom What we're talking about right now is really kingdom stuff. This is really on the kingdom level, not just messed up church folk. Our co-workers are messed up. The postman messed up. And if we could be that light, maybe when they deliver our mail or the UPS driver comes in, that light will be able to shine to him, because he may not ever come to your church. He don't even ask you what church you go to. Yeah. You his church. Standing right there on your porch.
Yeah.
You his church.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
And your business, you know, whatever your business is, that's why I said stop separating who you are in Christ when you get to your job, who you are in Christ when you get to your whatever your entrepreneurial effort is, who you are in Christ when you get wherever you go. That I think that's one of the biggest keys to success and to transforming your life, because everybody else knows you have on a mask and that you're gonna take it off when you get to the house.
And another thing too, to that point, I am a firm believer that all you got to do is be an example. And I think that's a sentiment of what we're talking about, and what a lot of the comments are saying. You know, you ain't got to tell people all the time. You don't have to beat people's head in about none of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you are an example and it's something that they want to emulate, they gonna do that. They're gonna ask you, well, you know, I read your book, Raquel. How, you know, and how did you really get through? Because I see pain through your poetry, and how did you make it? That's a conversation starter. That's an opportunity. You know, again, and I'm just using that as an example. And I think that partially like what Mario said, when we think about the kingdom, if you take the time, again, whether you're a Christian or not, the Bible is a book and you can buy it anywhere, so you can read it. You know, again, it's a book. That's what it is. It's something for you to read. It's something for you to connect with. You may not adhere to the principles because you may say, I'm not willing to do that, but don't judge it until you read it, but don't read it without understanding.
Right.
Without seeking understanding. Don't read it with the eye of feeling that you're coming in this because what you want to do is discount something. Like everybody that know me know I'm a Christian. I refer to God. Do I pray when I am at a business meeting? No. And I don't think anybody is advocating that. You got to operate in a way and in a character of integrity. And I think that when you do that and you operate in a loving manner towards people, and you know, I talked about that, being a servant leader in your business, approaching every business situation from a position of value. What am I bringing to the table? See, at the potluck, y'all know Sunday dinner sometimes it's a potluck. Don't nobody want to cook the whole meal, so we all bring something. But what happens is we all bring something because we bring enough for everybody. Right. You don't just sit at the potluck and eat your candy yams. You That's get you some, if you at my house, you're gonna get you some greens, you're gonna get some macaroni and cheese. That's why I need to be in the gym. You're gonna get you some cornbread, some fried chicken. You're gonna get all of that. But you didn't cook it. But you're feasting, guys, off of everything. That's what the kingdom is about. It's about bringing your purpose to the table so everybody can feast off of it. And when you get caught up in all these other things that everybody's been talking about, when you get caught up in that, you're going to turn around and all the collard greens going to be gone. You're going to miss your opportunity to mix them collard greens with your cornbread.
And Tanya, you know they're going to be mad too. You know that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let me just say this real quick. You bring out a very interesting point, though, and I know we're coming down to the end of this, but I think
we are way past time.
I know, right? But I think it's so interesting. You bring out a super great point, and that is servant leader, a servant leader, a servant business owner. I think that each person must take responsibility for their mental wellness. They must take responsibility for even the pain that they feel and doing something about it. And it's our responsibility to say, wow, I'm hurting in this area. This is an area that I really need some help in. But this is the thing I think we haven't hit on. We may have to do this again. And that is deal with the area of submission. That I must, and Tanya, you and I talk about this often. when we connected, I listened to you, and you are a Black woman. I'm a Black man. We're in two different worlds. But the one thing that I always talk about is I heard with my spiritual ear what you possess. So what I did was I submitted to your leadership so that I could extract from you what I needed. And you're so humble about it. You be like, child, please, I'm just saying da 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 da. But the fact of the matter is, in order for me to benefit from that, I had to learn the power of submission to the expertise along with the voice of God through you. You never told me, Mario, God told me to tell you this. You never spoke in tongues. You never quickened. You didn't drop the phone. You didn't fall out. You didn't roll. You didn't do none of that. You just simply spoke and did what you had to do. And I was able to receive from that. And it has benefited me greatly. But I understand the power of submission. Mm-hmm. Now, not perverted submission. Because see, the church deals with that perverted submission. But real godly kingdom submission is the ability to know by the grace of God that this person is an instrument that is bridging me to the next space I'm supposed to be in. And in order for me to really get the manifestation, I've got to submit and I've got to receive.
So listen, guys, thank you guys so much for being with us. We are way over time, and we know that. We do respect your time, but we also appreciate the time that we've spent here. As you can see, this is one of those topics that could go on forever. So I'm going to have Raquel and Mario back at some point for us to continue this conversation. And any of you that would like to be a part of it, come in the Zoom room with us and be a part of the conversation. Know that it is an open invitation. So all you have to do in the comment section is say, I want to be in the Zoom room, Latanya, and I will be in touch on how you need to do that. And we will go from there. But again, I want to encourage everyone. Raquel, hold up your book. I want to encourage everyone to get Raquel's book. Again, that is Silhouette of Her Naked and Unashamed. You can go to raquelreed.com. At the close of this, Raquel is going to go into the comment section, guys, and she is going to send you a link to raquelreed.com so that you can go and you can follow her on all of her social media links. You can find out more about what she's doing. She's doing lots of great things. Mario, again, I want you guys to go over to Coffee with Jesus. It's a Coffee with Jesus Facebook page. Again, Mario, tell them how to find the Coffee with Jesus Facebook page.
Absolutely. It's coffeewithjesus.cafe. You can go on Facebook and put that in the search engine. And I post videos there maybe 2 or 3 times a day with some very powerful insights to just regular human issues. And that's Monday through Friday. And so we're just kind of building that platform to be able to just address various issues that you may be going to. But the whole total package is to build you up where you've been torn down, to restore the places that have been breached, to get you back on course so you can start living a quality life. So that's coffeewithjesus.cafe.
Awesome. And so I want to thank you guys for being a part of our very first Real Perspectives live stream. I typically do this exact same format as part of my podcast. And so what I would like, I know I'm asking a whole lot, but y'all been here with us a long time. And those of you watching on the replay, in the comment section, let us know what you think about this live stream. Because if you guys like it, this is something that I may continue. Again, it's going to be on Tuesday evening. So let us know what you guys think. So again, thank you guys so much for being a part of Real Perspectives. Until next time, have a great day.